great segue too into like talking about where you should splurge versus where you should save. And I think, you know, no matter where your budget is at, you're still, you know, some places you're going to splurge and some places you're going to want to save because it goes back to those priorities.
Right.
So what would you say are the things worth upgrading?
So going back to the very beginning of our conversation, it's all about your priorities. But, and so my priorities may be different than your priorities, but I always tell people that the area I would splurge is on your photography and perhaps videography, if videography is important to you. They're the only pieces of this wedding that you will take with you after the wedding is over. And so I think that those are the pieces worth spending the money on. You know, that day is worth documenting and documenting well. So those are my priorities.
Yeah, I agree. I think good photo and good video, you can't beat that. And I think so many people debate around video.
Yeah.
I know we did.
Video is my most important thing.
And I'm glad that we, so glad that we splurged to have that because it's something that you can't get back either, once you don't do it. So I think that is super important. What about things what about things you think to save on?
So this probably sounds very dated, but your ceremony. I don't feel you need to spend a whole lot of money on your ceremony. I address it, make it beautiful, but when it comes to the decor and the programs and just the things having to do with the ceremony, it should really be about your union and not necessarily everything around it. And then also it's 30 minutes of your entire day. And so all of that money, unless you can reuse it for the reception, that money is spent for the smallest portion of the day.
We're laughing because you're literally a girl after my own heart. Because like we just did a episode on ceremonies two episodes ago, and I said the exact same thing. And we joked that like the first thing you think about with a wedding is the reception, and then the ceremony is kind of an afterthought.
Even though
it shouldn't be
what you're here for.
But the design portion of it, I agree. You're there for such a short period of time. Either reuse it or save there.
And then other things are, don't spend money on a specialty cocktail. If you can't negotiate it in from the beginning, don't do it. You don't do a champagne toast. Nobody drinks the champagne. Have it on the bar if somebody wants it. Just little things like that. My big one is the ceremony.
I love that.
That reminds me of at our wedding a few moons ago. But when we did have a specialty cocktail, but it was like a bourbon red wine type thing. And I just remember one of our guests just swinging the drink around and Sammy's eyes getting bigger and bigger.
We needed Laura.
We needed Laura to come and get that.
It didn't pour, but Ryan was like, "Can you back up?"
Yeah. Can you stop waving your arms?
I love you, but you gotta back up.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
All right. So a few top tips. So you said on places to splurge and save, but if you're designing on a budget, where are the things that you would, put your money and where are the things you would save? So like, what are things to think about when you're designing on a budget?
Yeah. So if you're designing on a budget, I always say like pick one place in the room that you really want to make a powerful statement in and then go understated everywhere else. Let people's eyes go there because truthfully, people are going to take pictures of your wedding, but mostly they're going to take pictures of like the thing that they're most impressed with. So let everybody be most impressed with the same thing and you'll get a lot of pictures of your room, but they'll also, you haven't spent a ton of money on it. Go with candles instead of a lot of flowers. Do not do floating candles because the labor involved in moving the floating candles actually up to your fees.
Where does the water come from?
Yeah, I don't think people realize that. That's a really good tip. Floating candles are pricey and a lot of work.
Right. And I don't know about up there, but in Atlanta, every candle has to be enclosed in glass. So your taper candles still involve glass around them, or even your pillar candles. But that is still a whole lot less expensive than your floating candles all the way down your aisle or your floating candles on your centerpieces, because that's even more time consuming and challenging. So it's just that labor piece that gets increase, and then you don't see it in the centerpiece necessarily, but you're going to see it on your bottom line. And then, do a seated plated dinner. If it's not important to you which way, do a seated plated dinner. It's going to save you a little bit of money. You do chicken instead of beef. Pick one entree and then have a vegetarian option. Or if you have the money, do a duet option, which is, beef and fish, or beef and chicken, or chicken and fish. But simplicity is always going to be the way to save some money.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tip. And I love it. I mean, personally, I love it when couples kind of, if they're on a budget, really put a lot into their head table or something like that, because I feel like that can just make such a huge statement, and you can really simplify everything else. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I think you said something earlier in the conversation, but that stations end up costing more. To me, in my mind, not being the planners that y'all are, that sounds counterintuitive. I would think stations would be less expensive than plated. Plated sounds more formal to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good advice.
Like a common misconception.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, if you had to pick one thing to splurge on, budget was not an issue, what would be that one thing that you would tell your clients to splurge on?
I'd still go back to photography and videography.
Yeah.
I know that's two things, but I wrote them together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those would be my splurge.
I agree.
Followed very closely for a third by some flowers, just because I love decorating and having the really beautiful, amazing decor. But, I always tell my clients, your priorities become my priorities. So if it's not your priority, then fine.
There you go. I like that. Yep. It's their wedding. So whatever their priorities are, I love that.
Right.
Yeah. Those, I would say, and lighting. That's another one that's top up there for me, is lighting can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be another top.
It really can. And yes, exactly. And you're absolutely right. You put all of this beautiful decor in the room. We're going to get some great pictures for our websites and whatnot beforehand, because we can have the lights a little higher during cocktail hour while you're out there, or earlier in the day. But, your guests aren't going to see what you have put all this effort and all this money into if you don't light it.
Yeah. I agree.